for both of us, but for you too. So everybody, when we started this show, part of what we started doing was we were like, well, we wanted to go over finance stuff and news and things like that and politics, but we especially wanted to go over the second half of the show, which we always do, is we go over clips from other financial people and we try to break them down, because there's a lot of con artists who are doing the get rich quick, or they're trying to sell you the easy financial plan thing, and it's dangerous.
Or misinformation, right? Yeah. Misinformation, incomplete information. It ranges, but there's a lot in there that can be misleading at least, and
right,
complete lies at worst.
Right. And so when we first started, one guy we stumbled on was Dave Ramsey, and we've done a lot, and we haven't made it real secretive. We think that honestly, I mean, he's not qualified, and most of the advice he gives is really dangerous for the average person. It can be very harmful and cause people to lose, their retirements, lose their homes, things like that. And I've seen it personally as a financial advisor. We didn't realize that Dave had no qualifications when we started doing this. And so we've attacked him a lot. But recently, we're not the only ones. I mean, there are other people that do it, but recently, other financial advisors, CFPs, qualified people who've said nice things about Dave in the past have now jumped on board. So, you there? You back? Oh, there she is. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me, Lace?
You're kind of cutting out.
All right, let's see. Let's give this.
Yeah, you were cutting out, but you seem like you're back for me now.
Okay, yeah, we just had a little glitch there. But anyway, so we're going to start with this guy. He's got a show called The Power of Zero, and he kind of breaks it down. But then we're going to go to a couple other CFPs, and you're going to be surprised at one of the people I bring up, Lacey. You're gonna love this. So this guy is going to go over.
Okay.
Dave Ramsey. So George Camel does a video. He's one of Dave Ramsey's guys. We call him Skippy. And then Dave Ramsey gets upset about it. So this guy's
in a recent episode
this guy's going to cover it. Sorry.
Of the Dave Ramsey Show, Ramsey eviscerated his co-host George Camel for having promoted sustainable distribution rates in retirement. On his own show, while discussing the FIRE movement, Financial Independence Retire Early, Camel talked about the rate of withdrawal that you could take from your retirement assets and still maintain a high likelihood that your assets would last through life expectancy. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Another flaw with FIRE is that they say you can withdraw 4% of your nest egg, but you'll really need to withdraw closer to 3% if you retire that early. So look at this. If you've saved $1.5 million by your 30s, that amounts to living off $45,000 a year. We're talking about living for 55 years off one account and not depleting it. And if you withdraw 4%, there's a higher chance that money's going to run out well before that time is up. This isn't a wet finger in the air. I don't know why wet fingers are in the air, but they are sometimes. This is just honest math. Literally, there's a site called honestmath.com, and they ran 10,000 different financial simulations to get this chart and show you these numbers. All right, so let's look at this chart. On the left side, we see years in retirement. On the top, we see the withdrawal rate. And as you can see, if you have a 30-year retirement with a 4% withdrawal rate, you're going to have 3% of that account balance remaining 30 years later. That's kind of scary considering you're going to retire at 30. And so a 30-year retirement means at 60, you're flat broke and you still might live another 35 or 40 years.
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
But when we move on to the 3% withdrawal rate, you will see that even 35 years into retirement, if you withdraw 3% a year, you'll still be left with 90% of the account balance. That's pretty impressive. And you can.
Okay, so there's this concept that's...
What rate of return is that chart assuming people are getting?
Well, it's just showing they're using market rates. So
okay.
I'll show you this because I did a really simplified version just to kind of show you how it works. But they're factoring in a lot of other things that I'm not going to bother with. Mm-hmm. Not for this episode. Okay. It would take forever. It would be like a 2-hour lecture. So there's this concept out there called Financial Independence Retire Early, FIRE. And the idea is you try to retire by the time you're like 30 or 40. But the idea would be is you have to...
There's not an age to it.
No, not really. But the idea is that the
I
money,
run in those communities, but yeah, it's the idea of retiring before traditional retirement age.
right?
Yeah.
The idea is though is so here's the deal. So you got to figure out kind of what you'll need in retirement going forward. Plus, what you do is then you go, okay, well, I need X percent of money going forward, right? So typically, what you do is when you're talking to somebody who's retiring, how much do you need right now, every month, out of your retirement account to survive, right? Or every year, whatever it is, right? Let's say I need 80,000 a year, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Then it's like, okay. Then what I do is I go, okay, well, if I'm doing like the 3% rule or whatnot, I divide that number by 3%. That's how much money you need to have saved in order to make this happen. But there's another factor to it that other people forget. And this is where like CFPs jump in and we go, okay, well, wait a minute. When we're doing this, we're factoring in a couple other things. We're factoring in inflation for one, but then, taxes, Social Security, all that other stuff. But just factoring in inflation changes this quite a bit. And I'm going to show you, I did a little PowerPoint for everybody just to sort of show you how this works. And I'm just going to hit a couple key numbers here. Can you see it okay? Okay, so in this scenario, I have a person who has $100,000 saved right here at the top. Oh, sorry, $100,000 saved. And they're taking out 4%. Now, if I'm taking out just 4% of the total account balance going forward, right, which is what Dave Ramsey is going to end up doing here, and I think where he gets confused, and George got a little confused, is so 4% of whatever this total is, right? So 100,000, that would be $4,000. Okay, and then over here on the years, I've got the market returns for the last 20 years, from whatever that is, 2003 to today. Okay. So I've got that. Well, the first year I'd take out my 4,000. The second year I'd take out 4% of that growth because it had a good year, 9%. Right. So I got some extra money, so I could take out a little bit more. And the next year I can take out a little more, a little more, a little more. See, good years. Now all of a sudden, boom, here's the 2008 market crash. Now I'm in trouble. Right? Because now I can't take out my 4,000. I can only take out 2,600. And then as the market comes back, I can take it a little bit more, but I'm below my 4,000. And it's not until the market comes back I can take out my 4,000 again and let it sort of build over time. And so by the end, I've grown the money to 168,000, and I'm taking out 7,000, right? Is what I can afford to do. Now, if I were just taking out 4%, 4,000 a month, which is how you normally do this, right? Because it's hard to gauge what your bills are going to be and what your expenses are going to be based on the market. Nobody does that, right? Is that fair or am I off?
No, that's fair.
Right. So most people do it like I need 4,000 a year. With what for this? This is just a hypothetical. So if I'm just taking 4,000 a year and I do this, well, if I factor all this in with the withdrawal, that's all fine, and I end up making more money, but I collect my 4,000 every year, and I end up with more money at the end. If you try to do this with this, hang on. Okay, so if I did that same thing with 8%, and I did it on $1 million, just to be easier. So I'm taking out 80,000 a year. You can see the first year I take out my 80 grand. Second year I take out 80,000. Now I'm going down to take out less and less money. So now I'm really hurting for the rest of my retirement. Taking out 8% of whatever the total is. If I take out 80%, 80,000 a year flat going forward, taking out 8% of the total, the $1 million, I run out of money by year 15. By the end of year 15. And now I'm broke. So that's the point that they're getting to, essentially. That was kind of the point. George was getting to the point the fire people are getting to is let's keep it small enough that you can take out that money going forward. But this also changes when I factor in inflation, right? But we're gonna watch this because they get into a bit of a scrimmage here, and it's really kind of funny.
You can even see if you go down 45 years, you still have 37% of that account balance remaining 45 years in.
Okay, so George Camel has taken a very prudent, math-based approach to sustainable withdrawal rates in retirement. Whether you want to live a 30-year retirement or you want to retire early and live a 45-year retirement, Camel acknowledges that there are mathematical guardrails that limit how much money you can safely withdraw from your portfolio in a given year and maintain a high likelihood of not running out of money before you die. But there's one huge problem with this video. George Camel's boss, Dave Ramsey, had no idea that he put this video out. And this video is starkly at odds with the outrageously high withdrawal rate assumptions that Ramsey has discussed on his own show for the last 20 years. Let's take a listen to how Dave reacts live and on the air when he learns of Camel's video.
So my question today is, I'm baby step 4, 5, and 6. I have about 120,000 saved for retirement. That's across my IRA, my Roth IRA, my wife's Roth IRA, and the 401k.
How old are you?
And I'm 30 years old.
Good for you. Well done.
Thank you. I feel, from what I've been running the numbers with, that I'm on the teetering edge of coasting financial independence. And I'm trying to best understand my plan with the end in mind. So how I'm going to
What was
turn
that? Did you say something?
He hates financial
Independence. Oh, well.
He hates the whole concept of it,
Well,
which is super funny. Like, I mean, in my opinion, the only reason he hates that concept is because, like, it doesn't jive with what it is he's trying to sell with his snake oil. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, his snake oil doesn't match it, and I'm not saying that financial independence, retire, like, there aren't risks to it, but the math is solid. So I'm not.
It's all based on math. The thing that you could argue is what rate you really should be using if you're considering inflation and whatever. Like, so there you might want to futz a little bit with it, but it really is based on simple math, but math nonetheless, which
Right.
a lot of the Ramsey stuff isn't.
No, a lot of the Ramsey stuff is just him making it up. It's just gut feeling shit. But
right.
But we're gonna but let's get into his response to George, because George made the argument for it. I guess he was trying to argue against FIRE and say it was flawed. And you can make arguments about that, but it's not. But the math is solid. That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess he kind of did and kind of didn't, right? Like, he was kind of trying to say that it was flawed, but at best, all he really did say was, yeah, if you're going to do this, you might need to do it at a lower rate than 4%, which is like, I mean, people within the FIRE community, I loosely would consider myself within the FIRE community, and they don't all necessarily use 4%. There are lots of people that, use percentages lower than that even.
Right. But
anyway, I digress.
But yeah, but we and I'll get into that in a second, because I use 8 and 4, because Dave thinks 8 is a normal withdrawal, and it's insane. And we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
At nest egg when I retire into income. I found on your website a little article that talks about 4 to 5% withdrawal rate. And I was trying to run the numbers around that, and I thought I was close. And then about, a month ago, George Camel released a video that said that the withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon should be closer to 3%. So if I can establish financial independence comfortably, then I was wondering if I could ease up on baby step 4.
So Dave's pissed because this.
Look at his eyebrows and how stuck there, and look at
Rachel.
My favorite.
Rachel's. It's going through. I tell you, it's going through Rachel's head. The same thing that always is. Da 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 da. Hey. She just.
Yeah, well, you can tell. Look at her face. She has no clue what they're talking about because she only knows what her father says.
Yeah.
She doesn't know anything outside of that.
Well, that's where all her money comes from. She knows where cider bread is buttered on.
The house faster.
So here's Dave.
Okay, I'm a little confused because I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate, because that's absolutely wrong. I'm gonna have to find out where that video is and get it taken down. Because that's just wrong. You don't need to have a 3% withdrawal rate. That's ridiculous. Or I hope you misunderstood. I hope we didn't put out trash like that.
Was it 4 to 5%? Like that?
No, it shouldn't be 4 to 5%. It ought to be more than that. I mean, if you're making 12 in good mutual funds and the S&P is average 11.8, and if inflation for the last 80 years is average 4%, if you make 12 and you need to leave 4% in there for inflation raises, that leaves you 8. So,
so first off, he's done the math wrong, completely wrong. And he's also assuming you're getting 12% every year like clockwork, which you don't do, which goes back to my graph here where I took the market returns. Some days you have up years, sometimes you have down years.
It's also completely insane that he is fundamentally against the whole fire movement thing.
Yeah.
When really most people in the fire movement are playing it more conservative with their numbers than he is, because they're assuming you could take out 4% or less. I'm aware of plenty of people who keep it under that, even just because they want the buffer, right? And Dave is sitting here saying you could take 8% out, which is totally bonkers. That's high.
Well, because if you
don't want to point the finger at them that there's something wrong with them. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, it's so insanely hypocritical that he would say he's completely against this movement and how crazy it is, but his numbers
are crazier.
Are not nearly as safe as theirs. Like, his are based on some like craziness in his head or something.
Yeah, his are not conservative at all. And the first assumption that he makes, where he totally fucks this up, is you can make 12% a year every year investing in the stock market. Now, a lot of people who are especially older are not going to want to be that aggressive with their money, because if in a down year you really get hurt. But you're assuming you get 12% like clockwork. You don't assume that the market looks like this is what the last 20 years were in returns. Some years are really good and some years are bad. And these are the ones that kill you, right? This was COVID, down 20%, 19.44%. If you're withdrawing money at that time, you're withdrawing it at the low end. You're selling low. And you can't make that money back now because it's not invested. So there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how the market works, or how any investment works, because you're not going to get a clockwork answer that's 12%. It's just not going to happen. The other thing about it is he's doing the inflation and shit wrong, but I want to get into this. So this is a CFP named Nikki Dunn, and she's got her own show. And I just want to play the intro to this, but she does a 20-minute video on this whole thing. We're not going to do that long, but because I just want to keep it simple. But she's doing it. Basically, you should never listen to Dave Ramsey for investing advice is the name of this video. Which is funny because we've seen her before, and she said, well, you know, Dave's helped a lot of people. He's okay. But she's slowly come around over the last year since we've seen her. So now she's like, no, don't listen to him at all.
And a lot of the studies I found showed...
Well, there's a lot of studies that are stupid in this space.
Hey, Finance Fam, welcome back to my channel. Unfortunately, today there is some Dave Ramsey investing advice that I'm going to have to respond to so that you don't do retirement wrong. Last week, some advice that Dave Ramsey gave on his show about safe withdrawal rates went viral when the professional investing community realized that this advice that he's giving is actually downright borderline dangerous to give. So
oh my gosh, she said it. Dangerous. Have I not been saying that for over a year?
Yes, you have, Duncan. You heard it here on Gossip Finance. Probably first.
You heard it first. I'm going to skip ahead because he does misunderstand this whole thing. But I think did she jump into it? Yeah, she jumps into it right here. We'll cover it right here.
Should be closer to 3%.
So we'll skip ahead on
talking
that.
about is what percentage of our portfolio can we pull out when we start retirement? And then essentially what we do is we take that amount that we pull out in that first year and we adjust it for inflation year after.
And that's what you do first. Dave's doing that last. He's assuming you get 12, you can subtract 4% inflation, so you can take 8. Right? What he's not assuming is that's not per year, because nobody does it by the percentage per year. They do it by the amount they need. So if I need 80,000 a year, like I showed you in this chart here, right? If I need that 80,000 a year, where was it? Yeah. Right? And I'm doing it just with market rates, because Dave's assuming you're all in on the market because you got to be getting 12%. I'm out of money now at year 15, and I didn't even factor in inflation. Right? So here, let me go to this, and I'll fix this real quick. Oops. But no, I mean, that's the thing. So he did this, and then, of course, all the financial people had to pile on. Because this is extremely dangerous. Because if you start taking out 8 thinking that's safe, you're going to be gone. You're going to be out of money in deep shit. That's why this is so dangerous. And that's why Nikki Dunn there was pointing that out, that this is really dangerous. So here's 8% inflation adjusted. Right? So I didn't adjust Dave's assumption here. So in Dave's assumption, by year 20, you can only afford to take out $60,000. When really in year 20, if you adjust for inflation, you would need $175,000 to maintain an equal spending amount as $80,000 that you started with on your 8% withdrawal. And if you look at this, the numbers get negative here on the right. They get negative here at year 11. So by year 11, you're broke under Dave's math, under his plan there. That's why this is so dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Now you're retiring at whatever age, it doesn't matter, but now you're broke. And you're starting over from scratch because you listen to Dave Ramsey. That's why this is so dangerous. And she points out just that adjusting for inflation fucks him. Because he's not adjusting for inflation every year over year. And is assuming a flat rate of return. So the whole thing's saying, well, watch a little bit more of Dave, and then it's just kind of crazy. But we've been saying this for a long time. People that listen to him, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. He's not qualified. And if you listen to him, there's a good chance you get fucked over.
Comfortable drawing 8. But if you want to be a little bit conservative, 7, but sure not 5 or 3.
Well, I was trying to back check it because, 3 to 5, I thought that was a big range. And a lot of the studies I found showed...
Well, there's a lot of studies that are stupid in this space. So it's just wrong. Listen, man, the math I just gave you is the math. If you're making 12% and inflation is 4, and you leave 4 in there, so your nest egg grows by 4, it's simple. 8 is what's left over. So if you got $1 million and you leave 4% in there, that's $40,000. Okay, so you now have $1,040,000. So
what was that?
He's literally the only person in the world that thinks that he's getting 12% every year.
No,
you might make more than 12% some year. You might get less than 12%. Like you are not literally getting 12% every year.
No,
and he says he's gotten at least 12% every year since the beginning of time when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Which is bullshit. No, it's a lie.
Are you kidding?
No, it's a total lie. But here, let me fix this. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the problem. And so, I mean, I think Nikki did a good job of just pointing out that, hey, I mean, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Because if he did, he would know that that's just insane what he's proposing.
Well, and look at how he handles a caller that actually read studies. He's like, well, I was reading some studies, and Dave's like, studies? Well, like, everybody's got to study. Says the man who says that his millionaire study is anything other than a damn survey. And
it's total bullshit, too, the conclusions they draw.
And any of the studies or articles they read, they haven't even read because we pulled half of them up on here.
Right.
And they don't actually half the time say whatever it is Ramsey pretends they're saying.
Right. So here, let me show you this. So here's 4%. This is why the 4% number, it generally works. So here it is, inflation adjusted, right? So I didn't adjust it if you just took 4% of the account per year, right? It would still grow in the end because you're not dipping into the principal. Shit, what's going on? Okay, right there. So by the end, you'd be taking 70,000 a year out, right? This is assuming 4% from 40,000, right? Initially, so you'd be able to take 70, but what you really need is 87. So you're not ever meeting your need. But if you take the 4%, account for inflation with a market investment, you'd be fine. And you'd still have 990 something thousand left.
Right.
And you'd still be getting your 40,000 a year. That's what George Camel was talking about. Generally. I'm just doing 20 years. They were doing 30 years. Right.
Sure, but the point is it's not running you out of money. Which is, and I can't believe I'm going to even in a sideways way be agreeing with Skippy, but like that was kind of the point Skippy was making, was like playing it safe enough not to be running yourself out of money.
Right.
Was like the whole point.
Right, but you got to remember too, he was trying to do that to downplay it and say it's a stupid idea.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew exactly what he was doing, but the point he thinks he was making is not the point he made. The point he actually made didn't suck, but I don't even know if he knew he was making it. But that's another issue altogether.
Well, his argument was if we do the fire method, right, you'd have to take out 3% to be safe. That was the downfall of the fire method. You can't take out 4, you can only take out 3. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
But you're also kind of splitting hairs there at that point too, like,
right.
Okay.
So he's trying,
assuming every single person in fire was doing 4,
right?
And they're not.
So he's trying to kiss Dave's ass by saying fire is stupid. The financial independence retire early thing is stupid. But like you said, he's just splitting hairs, and it's all stupid and bogus. What ends up happening though is people listen to that and go, okay, well, 3%, that makes sense, right? Because what he ends up doing is defending it accidentally. And then Dave hears this, and Dave's like, what and then Dave's like, well, why is he spewing that bullshit? Well, actually, he's trying to defend you, Dave. He just did it he just did what he always does, which is he's trying to make this point and ends up defeating himself in his argument, and then he just sticks with it anyway. Right? Because as we've talked about many times, their whole thing is no matter how much the evidence changes, the conclusion has to remain the same with Dave Ramsey. And that's science. That's just math. But that's the point, is it's so stupid. And then Dave goes off on this rant, and then what does he do? He pisses off the whole financial community. The actual financial community, those of us that actually have degrees and do this for a living. Because Nikki Dunn is a certified financial planner. She's not like some half-ass. She's got to practice. She knows what she's doing. She does this for clients. Right? You know who else, who was a big defender of Dave's that we used to make fun of, also a CFP with a big practice.
Oh, you didn't.
Yep, he did. He did.
Oh.
Here it is for your viewing.
Oh.
Let's see.
Oh, please, give me the pleasure.
Oh, wait, hang on, wait. So this is, Dave, where's the volume here?
Above his head.
Oh, is it?
Put your little cursor above his head.
Got it.
Yep.
There we go.
Create for you an $80,000 income, boys and girls, perpetually, forever. The problem is when you go down these stupid nerd rabbit holes in these Reddit threads with these morons who live in their mother's basement with a calculator.
Dave has lost the plot. If you rely on an 8% safe withdrawal rate, as Dave says, it only has a success rate that's less than 40%. Is that what you want to build your financial future off of? I care about you. And I want to make sure you don't get led astray. Sequence of return risk is real. And there's a better way to do money. That's why Next week, we're going to premiere.
But I forget his plug, but
Okay, so hold on here. So I gotta say, I am laughing my butt off at what that guy just did. The Money Guys. So the Money Guys have spent all this time kissing Ramsey ass to try to get a slice of their conservative pie,
bye.
being in the South, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And now they see a screw up that's big enough and being nailed by other people in financial community, that actually have designations, etc. That their move is, okay, now we can cut ties so we don't get associated with something that's dead wrong. And if we've already got some of their viewership, that maybe if this thing gets big enough, we can zoom in and take over their viewership.
Right. Well, I think also their bigger thing is, I think they thought, okay, we got whatever we're going to get. It's been gotten. Right? And Dave's not going to share. He's not going to tout us to his audience or anything like that unless we pay him millions of dollars, which we're not going to do. Right? But they've kissed, you're right, they kissed his ass. They told him how he was great. He's helped so many millions of people and he's just wonderful, blah, 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 which is total bullshit. He hasn't helped millions of people. I would argue he hasn't helped anybody. And I'll make that argument. And you guys want to come on the show and make that argument with me, I will make that argument any day of the week and prove it. Right? But the bottom line is, now all of a sudden, that relationship didn't work out for them. And Dave does a big, obvious fuck up like this, which is really dangerous, where a lot of people could get hurt by listening to him. Now they have to throw him under the bus. And he does it with gusto.
Little bus check.
Right. Nikki Dunn jumped in and did it with gusto. But she initially started out with, well, I guess Dave's not so bad. I guess he's helped people. And then she's going like, wait a minute, he's selling this product that's bullshit and this mortgage product that's bullshit and this thing. And she's come around quick to like, no, this is all, you scratch the surface and you realize the guy's a fraud. That's why he lives in such a tight bubble where it's just his own crew and nobody debates him and he doesn't bring on any dissenting opinion.
And he hires all people with no financial background at all. And then he's like, well, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about finance. And so these folks have no idea that what they're being taught isn't finance, like very little of it has anything to do with actual financial anything,
right. And if any of them challenge him or anything, they're gone. He fires them and tries to bury him. Because he has to, because any little...
Yeah, look at Chris Hogan, man.
Yeah, anybody even looks at him with any sort of depth. Not even a lot. Just, like I said, just a scratch surf. Yeah.
He got rid of Chris Hogan, and then he rewrote basically the same book as Chris Hogan's book.
And took credit
slapped his own name on it, a different title, because it's a different book, but basically the same information, just so he could bury Chris Hogan.
Yep, I'll bet you the same thing happened to, what was the other guy, Anthony O'Neill, who I don't like, but he got buried too. But that's the whole thing, is so he's going off, but that's the thing, when a financial advisor, well, Dave's not an advisor, he claims to be a financial expert, but anybody who claims to be a financial expert or advisor or anything like that says don't pay attention to the math, they're full of shit. If they say, well, if you go down these nerd rabbit holes...
Everybody's got a study. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but some are actually peer-reviewed studies, unlike Dave's bullshit that he hawks. You can pretty much rely on a peer-reviewed study. They're not 100%, but you can rely on it. It's at least fairly accurate. But anyway, yeah. So it's nice to be vindicated. We've been pushing this for a year, that this guy is dangerous and you shouldn't be listening to him. And now it looks like the rest of these certified financial planners have jumped on board and said, yeah, fuck this guy.
Oh my God.
It's so nice to be vindicated. And I'm sure it's because they watch our show every week, and now they're like, yeah, Duncan and Lacey were right. We should have. Yeah, clearly that's what's going on. Yeah, I wish. Well,
That would be
anyway,
pretty great.
that was our show for today. Thanks everybody for watching. Where can everybody catch you, Lacey?
All right. As always, you can find me at mycentwithsense.com for information about workshops, articles I've written, course information. If you have questions or comments about any of those, you're welcome to email us. And hey, while you're at it, send us some more clips. We dig those ones you've been sending us, or invite yourself on the show.
Yep.
The invitation is still out there. Duncan, where can they email us?
You can email us at gossipfinancead@outlook.com. And thanks everybody for watching, and we will catch you next time. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.